All right. It always is a little tricky because it says we're live, but we're not actually live until there's like a head count on the top. So you never know. It's like it's still going. Okay, so now I would say we're officially live. So welcome everybody. What an opportunity here today. Chad, has graciously allowed me to record this coaching conversation that we're going to have today. And when that opportunity comes up, I always just really appreciate it because it's an opportunity for others just to get to experience another person out in the world who's up to big things, just being in the process of being coached and supported. So thank you for that, Chad. I will just briefly share that. So Chad has joined the online men's group that I have, and I told this to Chad in our first conversation that, like, I this is not a detriment to others, but when I get to experience somebody like Chad who just like has this energy and this passion, like it's exciting. It brings me into his world, and I'm like, oh, who is this guy? So we got to have a conversation last week. We've been in conversation a bit, over Messenger, and the opportunity came up for us just to be in this conversation of exploration for what's next to come for him, which he's up to some cool stuff. So Chad,
And
anything you just yeah.
I appreciate you having me on, Andrew, and coaching me and being available for me, because you're right. What I am going through right now is a quantum leap in my own personal professional life, and I willingly accept all the help that I can get. By no means do I feel like I have this thing licked. However, I am open to all input and coaching, and if what I'm going through right now might be of help to others who are looking to break out and do their own thing, then I'm willing to put myself out there and be the guinea pig to see where this might all go. So thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. And anything you just want to share about yourself, and just briefly what you're up to, so that people can kind of have just a starting sense of where you're at.
Sure. So I just turned 51 years old this week, and for the better part of my professional career, I have helped build other people's dreams, and I've had a great time doing it. Done promotions, advertising, marketing for entertainment properties, a couple other different industries, turning sort of brand new companies into household names within that industry. And then in 2020, like with many other people, when the pandemic hit, I saw it all go away. And everything that I had worked for and built up for others basically left me in the disposable pile, along with everybody else who was working for the company or whatever the case may be. And that led to a series of falling off the cliff moments in my personal life. My marriage had ended. In the course of maybe 4 months, I went from going one direction, thinking that I was really on track in my life and where I was going, to having absolutely no clue what the next step was. And it got so bad that I had my will written, I had my affairs in order, and the only reason I didn't kind of check out and call it for good, I really thought my luck had just finally run out. The only reason I didn't do it, though, was because I had $1.5 million life insurance policy that I wanted to go to my stepdaughter, who I couldn't even see anymore. And it was one phone call from a guy I went to high school with, somebody who I'd never thought that I'd be taking type of life lessons from. But it was the catalyst of sort of making me really get into the idea of personal development, and that led to a 1 year long mind, body, and soul complete transformation, where it started with the body. I ended up losing 70 pounds. I went from near morbidly obese to really like 10% body fat. It was it was a pretty radical transformation, if I'm being honest. And during that time, I joined a men's group. I started meditating. I started looking into courses to build myself personally. I took 2 courses in specific. One was the Kill the Nice Guy course, which was out of the men's group that I had originally joined, which I'm still a part of. And the other one was a Healing Your Inner Child workshop, which on its surface sounds like a fun little weekend away to sort of get to know your inner child. But what it turned out to be was kind of the most profound 72-hour intense weekend, where I literally, through a series of breath work and guided meditations and over and over again, like produced my own inner child and reconnected with that. And that was an unbelievable experience. And during that time, it was shortly thereafter that in a deep meditation, I realized that I could either start from scratch and build somebody else's dream up again and just be the good worker, and help be an employee and all that, or I could sacrifice everything and go after my own dream. And during this deep meditation, it came to me that, I was going to be the brand. And I went out, one of my favorite sayings ever, and a lot of people will probably back me up on this. There's no greater positive affirmation in the English language than the term "fuck yes." And I went out and I trademarked that. And I couldn't believe that I was able to do it, but they allowed me to. There was a Supreme Court decision that happened in 2019 that reversed 100-year-old ban of trademarking profanity. And I just happened to be right place, right time, was able to trademark that. I moved from where I was in Los Angeles to Denver, Colorado. And instead, I made a vow that I wasn't going to work for anybody else. So I followed my pride. I started driving for rideshare companies, and slowly but surely put together what now is to become Fuck Yes Tequila, which comes out this summer. So I've gone through all of the trials and tribulations, jumping off that cliff and building the wings, while learning to fly, while pummeling, plummeting to the earth. And I'm very, very grateful and fortunate that all of that work has produced the right people to show up at the right time. I've learned to trust in the universe, trust myself. I've had an immense amount of personal growth during that time. And now on the precipice of launching this thing, I'm really diving deep in getting more coaching, staying true to the men's work, staying true to my meditation. And I'm excited to see where it all goes.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, just, what a story, right? A story of, as the term has sort of been coined, and I think men's work these days, like the story of being in the pit, right? And working out of the pit into, in multiple areas of life. And then, obviously coming to this place where you are now, where you've done this work, you've done the men's work, you've done this deep work. And, again, just really being connected to that element of creation, that element of possibility, and really just the energy of, like, as you said, like the energy of fuck yes, like you're going, that's it. Like there's no other pathway forward. So, it's exciting. And, I'm grateful for the opportunity to be in this conversation with you for today. So you ready for this?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
All right.
Let's coach me. Let's see what we got.
So, as I sent you the video of this week from Joshua, you got a chance to sort of see, an element of the conversation that we're having. So we're going to dive into this, what I would call a conversation for possibility. And really the idea here is to really be supported in looking at a few areas of your life where you really want to create some forward movement. And there, as I mentioned in every single one of these conversations, just to give some context, there's sort of three things that are in place when people start to look at this creation of the future. The first being that oftentimes people aren't having this conversation, right? Most human beings are not actually thinking about, hey, this is the life that I want to create, which is really cool because I can already sense that this is a part of who you are. You are that visionary who can already like see this stuff. So it's just an exciting conversation to be in.
And
And there are sort of, yeah, go ahead.
With that thought right there, when talking about and feeling what your dreams are, for me, my whole entire life, and I don't hold anybody responsible for this, but I was always told those dreams are for after you have a job and after you've done everything that you need to do in order to be a quote civilized person. And we don't do these sorts of things unless we have the money to do it already, or it's great to dream, but it's not going to really be a reality. You need to get that job where you're going to just be able to pay your bills. And I had to really dig deep and overcome the good opinion of others in order for me to be able to fully embrace and step out and do this. And I've lost relationships in the last couple of years because I simply didn't have the financial means that a 50-year-old should have in order to do things. And I really downgrade my existence to I shouldn't say downgraded, condensed my existence and everything around me in order to give myself this opportunity to do it. So, for people who are thinking about maybe going off and doing their own thing, I would say, there's going to be a million opinions of people who possibly the closest people in your life who are going to tell you that it's a bad idea or not to do it. And my only advice is to listen to your inner being and listen to your gut, because you're the only one. I'm the only one who's going to be able to go on my journey, just like anybody else is going on their own personal journey. And the ability to be able to shut out the negativity or the fear that is prevalent in all of our society is been a blessing for me to be able to get to the starting line, which is really where I'm at. I mean, I haven't really done anything. I've just gotten myself to the starting line.
Well, and it's a great point that you make, right? Because absolutely, right? Like I sort of positioned like hey, this is a place where people come from. And usually there's a reason for that, right? That element of being a dreamer, a visionary, that we had when we were kids, it gets sort of drained out of us as we move into adulthood. It's funny, I've referenced this a few times, but when I first was getting like one-on-one coaching, that it was sort of one of the first things that a coach pointed out to me is like, oh, have you like lost your ability to dream? Because it's so prevalent in our world. And so this is the beauty of, this conversation, and also the importance of being in structures where you're being supported, where people are holding your possibility to the highest level. They're not putting limitations in the way for you. So I really appreciate you bringing that into the conversation.
And that was, almost solely me joining a couple of different men's groups and surrounding myself with people who have my back, who are supportive. And really this year, in my men's group, every year we do a thing called Name Your Year, which is different than setting New Year's resolutions. It's more of a framework of how you're going to live your year and put everything, judge everything that you're doing. Does this align with what I've named my year? And I named this year the Quantum Leap Year. And with that, in my personal relationships, I am choosing to solely surround myself with people who trust me, who believe in me and who have my back. And if those three boxes aren't checked, then those people, love them as I may, are going to have to watch from the sidelines, because I'm no longer accepting viewpoints of people who think that this can't be done, because I know it can.
Hmm. Yeah, and I get the sense too. I mean, like, the one of the elements of power is sort of having that clear focus, right? Having the people that are needed to be there in our lives, and having that focus, that direction of where you're going. So it's great to hear that. So the other two pieces that I'll just put into the conversation, and we'll start working with this, and we've already kind of touched on some of these elements. So really, like, the second place I often see is that, when folks, if they're in that space of creation possibility, there's often limitations. There's an element of, like, this is the best that I can get, and so it's almost like we are tying one hand behind our back when it comes to this vision process. So that's one more place that can show up. And then the other place that often shows up is the influence of past experiences. So past
Mm,
relationships, past failures, a lot of the stuff from the past, it can impact how the future is both envisioned and created. And so the
mm,
opportunity here in our conversation is really just to be supported, if because it can be so nuanced how these things show up, in terms of the vision that we have. And so that's really what we're up to in this conversation, is one is to just continue to gain clarity in terms of the direction that you want to go, and then just being supported, as you mentioned, to the highest possible level, really being able to approach this next year with a clean slate, with all possibilities on the table. So,
mm.
the first place that I would just invite you to is, just be with for a moment of, like, what would be one or two areas for us to explore in this conversation that would be really meaningful for you in terms of this conversation of possibility.
I'm going into this year with full guns blazing, and part of the challenges that I have had over, years past would be, I'm very good at starting things, but then because the excitement is there and it's so great, but then once the excitement or the honeymoon phase wears off, it's that consistency throughout the whatever it may be, is one of the areas that I have struggled in the past. And I suppose the other one, that I guess they just a couple nights ago we had a blind tequila tasting, and my co-founder was talking to all my friends who he was meeting them for the first time and asking them about me. And what's the one drawback that Chad has that my co-founder could perhaps step in and help with. And apparently, the thing is that I am the type, because I do dream big, that I sometimes put the cart before the horse. So that consistency, of doing what I have laid out to do, and the I guess the grounding of knowing that I have steps to take from A to Z, um, that I should focus on them as they come, versus, I'm already planning, in 5 years when we launch worldwide, there's this cruise. It's a worldwide cruise. It's 274 days. It goes to 60 different countries. And I'm already in my mind envisioning where I have a team back home. I'm on the boat with a couple other people I'm going to be doing a podcast for this brand as well, but doing the podcast and going around the world in these 88 ports in 60 countries and doing launch parties in every single city. So I'm already there with
Right.
what's going on with the brand. And I do know that there's a million things to think about and do before that 5-year world cruise comes on. So consistency, and making sure that the horse is in front of the cart.
Yeah, for sure. So the you know the thing that I'm just present to is like I could see consistency being like an element of obviously the business structure, in terms of bringing that consistency over the year. But the thing that I'm also sort of just curious about is like, is that are we talking about consistency just in the business structure, or like is there an opportunity like when you think of your life and like this mentality of like, okay, I can sort of like get excited about things and then drop off, like is this I'm being wordy about it, but like is this solely a thing that shows up in business, or do you see it in other areas of life as well?
No, it's my entire existence. I have had the this is not a brag. I have been a weight loss champion 3 different times in my adult life. I have
Yes.
this ability to flick on or off in my brain, that I'm either all in or I'm completely on the couch eating cheeseburgers and watching movies all day. And so in my personal life, the structure of exercising daily, of meditating daily. One area that I keep telling myself is journaling every single day, which I don't do. And I know that that would be something that would be extremely beneficial. I was just looking, I journaled today, and the last day that I did it was 5 days ago. So
Hmm.
um, these little things, if I'm able to do the series of small gestures, small movements, small consistencies, I find that my ability to think clearly, my ability to be my own best friend, which is something that I had never done before, coming from the nice guy syndrome, which many of our guys in the group have, where we put other people's needs in front of our own, or try to hide our insufficiencies or where we're lacking, and really truly own who I am, warts and all, as they say, and be able to move consistently through my year, so that I don't go into these peaks and valleys where I'm hot for 3 months and then I take a month off and I lose everything that I've built for. So professionally, sure, I want to stay consistent, but in order for me to stay consistent professionally, it starts with me personally, and making sure that I have my ducks in a row, because then everything else will fall into place.
Yeah. Yeah, well said. I'm just going to put one thing into the conversation. So, for folks that are listening in, depending on where you are, which platform you're on, sometimes we can't see your name. So, if you are in the conversation here and you want to put your name in, please feel free. And we'll do our best to include you in the conversation. Um, so, yeah, and a great piece that you're speaking to, right, is that like, um, you are present to the being based work here, right? That like the the development of self is going to impact your business, these other areas of life. So like it's a great awareness that you have there. Um and the thing that I would just have you envision, is like, so when we're talking about consistency and this being based work that you're up to, as you look at 6 to 12 months from now, pick one. First of all, pick 6 months, pick 12 months, whatever feels like most relevant to you. What would you want your life to look like?
Well, 6 months from now is when we're really launching the brand. I'm going through all of the regulatory processes down in Mexico. It's a tequila, so our distillery is down in the city of Tequila, in the state of Jalisco, down there. 6 months from now, we're only going to be featured in the Colorado, in the state of Colorado for the first year, just to make sure that all of the strategies are in place, all of the I's are dotted, T's are crossed. We're going to be launching a college market integration. I'm using the University of Colorado Boulder as my pilot school. So really, 6 months from now, all the prep work for launching the brand will be completed. We'll be 6 months from now, we'll be at our launch party. We will have we've put together the funding document, so we're going after $300,000, which doesn't sound like a lot for a tequila brand, but for the average person, it sounds like it's a house. And so getting that funding in place, I'm on today's January 25th. On February 15th, I am starting a 90-day celibacy cleanse, I suppose, something that I have never done before. I'm going to be just solely focused. I'm not going to be concerned about dating. I'm not going to be concerned about, putting myself out there in that way. So I'm starting that. So I'll be coming off of that 90-day cleanse, which is something, again, that I have never done. And on March 1st, I move into what I consider to be my dream headquarters. Somebody very generously gifted me and my co-founder 6 months free rent at our new headquarters, which is going to be on the top floor of the building that I'm in right now, with a 200-mile view of the Rocky Mountains. And I'm very inspired by nature, and I'm going to have an unobstructed view from my headquarters, where I'm also going to be living, of the sunrises and just the beautiful sunsets that happen in Colorado every day. And so we'll be moved into our headquarters at that point. Right after we move in, I am going to start the 75 Hard program. I've done it 3 times before throughout these last couple of years during this whole journey that I've been on. But for those who don't know what 75 Hard, they tout it as an Ironman for your brain, where you, for those 75 days, have to accomplish these 6 tasks, which each of them on their own doesn't seem like a big deal. But when you put them all together and you have to do it every single day without fail, without any type of adjusting to fit your own schedule, you come out of that thing like you're unstoppable. So these next 6 months really are surrounding myself with smart people who know the nuances of business that I don't. I've heard of the term founder's syndrome, where the founder thinks that they know everything, and I know for sure I do not. So keep allowing these opportunities to come my way and say yes. One of the tenets of our brand is say yes to life in all its outrageous glory, because the more I keep saying yes to things that may seem to be uncomfortable, the more I keep accelerating my own process. So 6 months from now, I envision this brand kicking off with a bang. I will be in very, very good shape. I will have my mind right. I will be in my new place. I will be open to all of the challenges that I know are going to be coming with a brand like Fuck Yes. I know we're going to get a lot of, negative people come at us, and we're ready for that. And I tried. We went down to Mexico. We picked our tequila. We did the flavor profile, and with a brand with a name like that, you're only going to be as good as the liquid that's inside the bottle. Otherwise, it's just a joke or a gimmick, and I'm not looking to have a joke or a gimmick brand. I'm looking to really start a movement here where we give people permission to live their best lives and celebrate their own accomplishments, big or small, no matter what side it's of. And my goal with that is we're going to be the first brand where instead of people celebrating the brand, our brand is going to celebrate our people who believe in themselves and believe in the product. And that I mentioned earlier, we did a blind taste test on Monday between, we had some samples of ours, and we had a well-known tequila that most people are aware of and buy regularly. And I'm happy to report that 9 out of the 12 in this blind taste test, they didn't know which one they were drinking. 9 out of the 12 picked ours. So nice. I know that we're on the right track.
Do you mind if I pause you here for a second, Chad?
Sure. Yeah.
So what are you present to just in terms of the direction of our conversation right
now? Say that again? What am I present to?
Just like what do you notice is happening in our conversation right now?
I feel building momentum. I feel that we're laying the groundwork of where I would like to see, and getting to the core of what it is that I potentially might need help with.
Okay, that's fair. So all of these things that you've spoken about in terms of occurring over the next 6 months, does it feel within reach or out of reach?
That all depends on how I show up. I feel right now, talking with you, that this is all within reach, and it's the ability to lay the groundwork and then execute on it. So I believe it's going to happen, and it's up to me and the people that I surround myself with, who give me the support to call me out on my bullshit and make sure that I'm on the right track.
Totally. Absolutely. And that's the sense that I have of it as well, is like, for the most part, it feels like you've got this. Like what you've spoken to, whether it's the 75 hard or the 90-day celibacy thing, like, yeah, there are some things that could potentially get in the way, maybe stop you, but like there's a sense that like you could create what needs to be created. And the conversation that I'm going to invite you to from here until the end of our conversation is like, what actually feels out of reach? What actually, when we talk about this, you mentioned this consistency in life, but the place that I'd really invite you to is like, expand on this even further. Like what do you truly desire in your life in the next 6 to 12 months that doesn't feel possible?
A couple of years ago, when going through all of this, I realized that my purpose, my true purpose, is to be a being who generates abundance and infuses joy into the collective consciousness. So going in with that mindset and trying and doing my best to trust in the process, and staying out of my own way, will allow me to do that. So honestly, Andrew, none of what I've said so far feels out of reach to me. but again, I'm all in.
Mm-hmm.
So I there is no plan B. You know, I guess out of reach would be if I were to try and do this all on my own and
Mm-hmm.
scale, because as I mentioned, we're starting with year one here in Denver, but the goal is to be worldwide, in a few years, and that feels at points to be something that might be, a pie in the sky dream. However, I keep getting these signs that it's actually doable. So out of reach, you know, that's a tough one, brother. I mean, before I went through and on this journey, I would have said, there's no way that I will be able to keep up with this, or
Mm-hmm.
I would do something to self-sabotage, or um, get in my own way and get back down to that, that median level of, okay, of I'm only worthy of so much. And it's taken an immense amount of work to allow myself to feel worthy, that I truly can make this happen. So, I'm sure there's things that may I seem insurmountable, but with the allowing it to happen instead of trying to force it to happen, I have put myself in a mindset that it's already there, and
Mm-hmm.
now it's just a matter of allowing it and making it happen.
Right. And I hear that, and that's sort of um that's the beauty of what you bring to the space, is like there is a knowing, a well, just that, like you're sensing that future vision, right? Like you're seeing it, and you're manifesting it. Now, the interesting thing is you've spoken to a couple things, um, just, well, rather than trying to be creative with it, just I'll put it into the conversation, right? Like, there were a couple of things that you just spoke to in that moment of like places to look. And so I'll just sit with that for a moment. Like, as you look at this year and you look at yourself, or just that, like, what what in this moment feels like there's sort of a stopping point for you, a place where, like, maybe there is a desire that you have, but you're not even allowing yourself to maybe look, or that type of thing.
You know, I have learned that if I'm in a state of wanting, that I will inevitably stay in that state of wanting, where if I use the term I prefer something to happen, that means that I already have the power within me, and I'm bringing that out. So, and again, this is a profound amount of work that I have done on myself to get me to this stage. The only, I mean, the word insurmountable, just the word itself is triggering for me,
Mm.
because
Hmm.
I I I I I now feel that nothing is insurmountable. And had you said that to me a couple of years ago, I might have said, well, obviously getting the money and all of that taken care of is not going to work, and not trusting in myself, that's not going to work. but I've overcome those feelings. So, yeah, I don't feel anything is insurmountable anymore.
Yeah, and you're doing great work in this conversation too. And really, I hear um like the rigor in that, right? Like this is actually how I feel. Like there's nothing that's really insurmountable here. And so, the place then to really just check in with yourself is like, okay, so there's a knowing that's there, like a knowing that, like, hey, if I put my mind to something, like, I'm going to be able to create it. And so this is then the opportunity that I would invite you to, in terms of really reaching, like, where have you set your sights that, potentially you could go even further. That's really the place that I'd invite you to. And it could, and really look at some of the places that we've already talked about in this conversation too.
Hmm. You know, I seek great relationships. I seek um, to put my body and my mind into its utmost position for success. I seek prosperity. Um, it really is, it's a tough one for me, because
Hmm.
I put myself in a position where I can really go as big as I want. There's somebody standing at my door. Hold on one second.
No, yeah, no worries. So while we're waiting for Chad there, I'm just going to come to, first of all, thanks Carlos and Mark for jumping in on the conversation with us. Um, I don't know who wrote this one, but I'm going to read it out. Oh, I won't be. Chad, you're back. I actually muted you there just in case. Yeah, didn't know who'd be at your door. So here, I see if yeah, I can unmute you there. Okay, cool.
All right.
So,
It, it was an
um,
overzealous delivery driver.
yeah, he wanted to make sure. He wanted to
Oh
make
my
sure.
God. Leave it at the door,
So,
brother.
well,
Leave it at the door.
here's and I'll point to a couple of things that you spoke to, right? Because there's some beautiful pieces here. And just to kind of bring us back into some of these things that there is a desire of. You spoke about consistency, right? Really tapping into, like, what would that consistency look like for me this year? What would be really meaningful to create there? And there's another piece here that kind of snuck in, that my guess is there's something there, and there always can be something there in terms of, like, truly trusting self. And so I don't know, but those were sort of two elements brought into the conversation. And so now, if we just look at this sort of this deepening of possibility in your life, just me bringing up back either the consistency or the trust piece, like, just, are you present to anything? Is there sort of, and is there anything there for you where, like, maybe there's something here for me to explore?
Well, I have sort of a personality that goes all the way with everything that I'm intending to do. And the consistency really comes from the mindset of waking up every day kind of with intention, segmenting my days and refocusing my attention to what needs to be done at that point. And it's a work in progress. I'm by no means uh, crushing it on all levels. So the goal, is to recognize those things that I'm inconsistent with, and allow the ability to become more consistent there happen. And so, I mean, I suppose that's where, surrounding myself with people who are going to tell me the truth, um, uh, in a way that is supportive. Uh, I'm able now to really shut out all the other noise. I mean, everybody has an opinion about what I should be doing. I tend now to really look at the source of
Hmm.
that, and if these people that are really giving me sort of constructive criticism are people who I seek to emulate, then yeah, I will absolutely listen and be coached. I'm coachable. Um, I have, I believe that I have worked through my own ego issues to a point to where I am malleable and I'm able to be coached. And so, you know, if I could dive deep and just and have mentors, people that I look up to that will help me realize where I'm falling short. It's because a lot of the times I don't see myself where I could be doing better, or I justify things. I give myself a break when I should really be like, no, that's just being lazy, or you know you don't necessarily need that second piece of pizza or whatever,
Hmm.
just like
Hmm.
things like things that are going to keep me on track, get the salad instead of the french fries sort of thing. Um and beyond that, really putting myself in positions that allow for opportunity, allow for possibility, allow abundance. This universe is unlimited in what can happen. And if I put myself and I choose unlimited abundance, then I know that I'm not taking from anybody else because there is no limit. So, really, just keeping myself there. Um, and if I can dive deep into that, and again, stay out of my own way. I'm my
Hmm.
own worst critic. And sometimes I can pull off miracles, it seems, and I will find the thing that I didn't do right and focus on that. And so if I'm able to, celebrate the wins, if I'm able to recognize where I can do better and not get down on myself for it, and just remind myself that I'm doing the best I can with the tools that I have at this moment. So I'm always open to new tools, specifically as it pertains to my own inner work. The last month, I probably listened to that book, The Law of Attraction, maybe 10 times in a row, just really getting that drilled into me. And, you know, I feel today, sitting here with you right now, grounded, focused, and ready to crush.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, it's kind of interesting, right? Because really we're still like we're really back where we started, in terms of not back where we started, but like, that conversation around consistency is here in this space again, inevitably. And so, again, just from this place of possibility, you've spoken to, okay, there are these things that I'm up to, that I'm likely going to show up for, right? The 75 hard, the 90-day celibacy, the stuff in your business. And so really then the opportunity here is to look at, okay, what do you really, I'm going to use the word desire, but like in terms of that consistency, over the next 6 to 12 months, what would be really meaningful for you to tap into that would be different than how you've shown up in the past?
Um, I would say instilling the confidence that can be done. Um, Whereas maybe in the past, I say I want to do something because maybe it sounds good, but really
Yes.
inside, internally, I would feel that there's no way I'm going to be able to fucking do this. And or it would be beyond, I would have to be lucky in order for it to happen. And really focusing on, I'm happy to be fortunate. I am a fortunate guy in things that just seem to, I had this term, I fail up. So the more that I end up going for something and it doesn't work out, I have come to realize that it didn't work out because there's something better awaiting me. And so the just the permission to give myself that I am worthy of this, I am capable of it, and just reinforcing that as consciously and as often as possible. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on your end?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like yes and yes, there's sort of a well, really just coming back to that piece like you spoke to, the confidence, right? And really just checking in with yourself in terms like, okay, so what would it look like to actually create that inner confidence? That as you move through 2024, that like you just know that you've got this. You know that even if there's a breakdown, maybe things don't go as you desire for a couple days, that you can still get yourself back on track. Sounds like that's the place to really tap into in terms of like, okay, what needs to be unleashed here in terms of this confidence. I'm kind of being wordy about it right now, but yeah, I hear it.
I have to be vulnerable enough to show my weaknesses in company of people who want to or prefer to see my dreams come true, and to be vulnerable in that respect, strength with vulnerability, to know that I'm on the right track, to know that I'm doing the things that I need to be doing, and giving myself permission to grow
Yes.
consistently and learn and be open to what others may have to share with me, that because I never know when that little nugget of perspective is going to profoundly impact me as a person. So I stay close to my men's groups, stay close to my meditation, my inner work that I'm doing. I listen to a Connect with Your Inner Being sleep hypnosis every single night. So I'm every night my subconscious is getting all of these messages of trusting me, trusting the universe, all of that. So just making sure that I have tools at my disposal that I can reach out to confidently, knowing that these people or situations or experiences are going to enhance and enrich me overall as a person.
Yeah. And I hear that. The one thing that I would put to you is, how vulnerable and caring are you towards yourself when you don't follow through?
It's been a massive work in progress, bro.
Yeah.
A massive work in progress. I historically have been by far the most harshest critic of myself, and that's including my ex-wife. So, and she was pretty harsh, but just again doing the work, doing a lot of reading, being a part of men's groups, sharing. I mean, here we are doing a coaching call, and it's being live streamed. So I really just sort of, I have surrendered to putting myself out there and accepting every opportunity possible to help me grow.
Yeah. So yeah, and I hear that for sure. The thing that I would just put to you then as we kind of look to start winding down our conversation is like from this conversation, do you see any opportunities for practices for to be created or just any awarenesses to bring on to help support you on this path?
You know, opportunities to be created is I would like to, open myself up to be available for others who might hear something that we have said in this conversation and want to uh, dive a little deeper. I have found that the more that I'm able to share my experiences with others who seek it, um, the more it instills it in me. Um, yeah, I mean, I don't really know where to go with that answer. So,
No, that's great though. And so like just as just reflect on your life, what is it that, you're sensing from where you're at in your journey that you see this opportunity to be of service to others?
um, with the launch of the brand, I am starting a podcast where I'm going to be inviting people to come on and share their experiences with. So, people, I'm open to all walks of life, and to me, this fuck yes mentality, this fuck yes lifestyle, it the term means something different to everybody. It could be, these fuck yes moments that we have in our lives can be very, very personal, and it could be, the girl who just finally nailed the dance move, or two friends getting together for a burger that haven't seen each other in 5 years, or really just celebrating a beautiful sunset. Those to me are all kind of, fuck yes moments. And if I'm going to do my job of my purpose of generating abundance and infusing joy, is that I will do everything in my power to give people permission, to give themselves permission to unleash their greatness, or celebrate their greatness, or connect with their own inner child. I can't, circling back to the beginning of this conversation, I cannot tell you the immense value that was to me to have this relationship with my own inner child that wants this adventure, wants this excitement, all of those dreams that, like you mentioned, kind of get, squashed out of us as we grow older. Really getting back to that childlike wonder of possibility of what can happen. And if I can help others, tap into their own in my own little way, then, my purpose is fulfilled here in this lifetime.
Nice. That's awesome. I'm just making a note of that. So, I hear the launch of the podcast. I know. Well, I know you've been working with the podcast as well. So, I'm not.
I did 2 seasons of a podcast. It's called Project All the Way. It was
Yeah.
launched on the 1 year anniversary of doing my own transformation, and the theme of that was journey into the uncomfortable, where anything can happen. And I just started interviewing people and really putting myself in uncomfortable situations on purpose to prove that I could overcome anything that I put my mind to. And that ran for 2 seasons. And then I switched my focus to this brand, and we're going to, in addition to trademarking Fuck Yes for entertainment division, I'm calling it Fuck Yes Social Club. And that will be the name of the podcast that will be coming out. And we're going to launch that mid-March.
Okay. Cool. And like, are there any commitments that you want to make in terms of that podcast launch to ensure that it gets launched for mid-March?
Fortunately, I've had experience in this so far. So
Hmm.
I've already begun that process of laying out, what the first 10 episodes look like, what, the consistency. Right now, it's just going to be a once a week sort of thing. And making sure that all my ducks are in a row so that, I'm 6, 7 weeks away from it right now. So
Yes.
the planning process has already begun.
Cool. Okay. Um, and so, like, just as we look at creating this as a practice that moves things a step further, you speak to like helping others tap into that childlike wonder. And you get to be at choice with this, but like a place to look at is like, where could you take a step forward in that now?
I can do that by leading by example,
Yeah.
and doing everything possible to live my best life and to exude, the possibilities of what is out there. Because again, 3.5 years ago, I was, ready to call it a life. I mean, I was
Hmm.
done. And if by me going through this and putting myself out there, those who seek that will find it.
Hmm.
And just doing my best to be the most authentic being that I can be, and really, if I'm able to do that for me, then those who seek that will see it, and they might be influenced that way. But other than
Cool.
that, it's really just, this brand is going to exude permission for people to live their best lives.
Nice. That's excellent. Yeah. And, if I would just add something to that practice, as a place to look is simply just recognizing those moments, maybe when you're with others or you just find that you're kind of holding back, whatever that looks like, just to take that extra step, take that one step further from that basis that you're speaking to of like, the more that I just step into this authenticity, even in the moments that it feels awkward or I'm not in the place, like that is authenticity in itself, right? So that's the only piece that I would add there. Are you open to a couple other practices that I see for you?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Give it to
Cool.
me.
So the second one is actually a book that I would recommend. I think that you would really enjoy it. It's called A Shift in Being by Leon Vanderpool. Some of these elements that we're talking about in the conversation in terms of purpose, trust, um, vulnerability. It's a really, really great book just to like be with those concepts at a deeper level. So that's one thing that I would just recommend to grab a copy of that book.
Okay.
And then the other practice that I have for you is kind of a tricky one. I was kind of sitting with this a little bit. So, and I'll be curious to hear what you think of this, but what I am sensing in some way is that there is still something here in terms of when you are consistent, there is value to that. And rightfully so. Like we live in a world where consistency means something, right? And what I see the opportunity here for you is like starting to kind of play with that narrative, like, because what I understand is like there's sort of that, like, let's say with the weight loss, there's like a stop start mentality to that, right? And subtly, I bet under that is there's a bit of judgment, in terms of how that process has gone. So the opportunity that I see here for you is to pick a time where maybe like actually cultivate this where um say for example you purposely don't do your habits for a day or you don't be consistent for a day. Sit with what shows up for you and just see, do I still feel in tune with myself? confident, that type of thing? Or is there judgment showing up? Is there ridicule showing up? It's simply a practice just to see what comes up. Because the opportunity here that I see for you is that no matter whether you're consistent, not consistent, where you have times that maybe there's a breakdown or not, is that you're the same being. And I know that you see that, like I know that you are representing that, but it's just an opportunity to deepen there. How does that land as I'm sharing it for you?
Well, I love it, and I can tell you that it's a matter for me of momentum, and when I 3 days off of my deal, I can already feel that diminish that you're talking about. So I know that it's a real
Yeah.
thing. Um, it would be an interesting practice to purposely do that and see
Yeah.
how that feels.
Yeah, and just start with it being purposeful, right? Like, okay, today I'm going to try this out and see what shows up for me. Because then that's the opportunity to just, really as we're speaking to it of, you know, same being. You are a powerful human being, and regardless of how you show up in the world, you are still that powerful human being. And that's the thing to really step into. And oftentimes, our ego can start to get in the way. Our ego can start, chatting there. So great that you see the opportunity there, just to play with it a little bit. That's really the thing there. So great work. As we start to wind down for today, yeah, anything you want to speak to from that experience of the conversation, just anything that's present for you?
I'm grateful for you taking the time. So I willingly accept all help that I can get as I continue to move through this. So I just want to share my gratitude with you for taking the time to to be present with me, man. It means a lot.
Hmm. Yeah,
We
absolutely.
especially with as men, we sometimes find it difficult to share and with other men because we always feel like we're in some kind of competition or be less than or judged or whatever the case may be. So I know the importance and I feel the gratitude for you being able to invite me to come on and chat with you and take a look at what I'm doing and how I'm doing it, and you know, giving me some guidance on things to think about and move forward with. Because I'm like I said, I'm all in, man.
Cool. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for sharing. I want to give you some acknowledgement as well. But before I do that, is there anything that you want to share in terms of, ways people could connect with you, or anything you want to share about the tequila brand itself?
Well, our website just went live a couple of days ago. Tequila.com, and on all of the Instagram, if you want to hop on and follow there. We just secured it. There's only a couple dozen followers at the moment because we haven't yet unleashed our entire marketing and promotional blitz about it. However, if you want to just sign up and hit your notifications, that thing's going to be dinging here in the next 8 weeks. And so, yeah, those are the two best ways to follow what's going on right now. I'm actually doing my best to stay off of social media during this time. Just the mindless scrolling part of it, anyway.
Yeah.
As I build this thing, and so those would be the best two places. And I invite anybody to reach out to me through those two platforms if they have any questions or observations or comments or criticisms. I accept it all.
Cool. Yeah, thanks for sharing. And I'll make sure to put the links in afterwards for the website. And I want to give you some acknowledgement, and then we will close, and we'll wrap up afterwards. Yeah, Chad, I really want to acknowledge you again just for the energy that you bring. I think, as well, what you spoke to in the conversation is just like this real knowing of just creation, right? That, like, as you said, the language of, I can't even think of the word that was used, but like sort of the language of limitation, is something that, is really not even a part of your vocabulary at this point. Such a powerful thing, right? Of like just really being in the space of whatever I touch, whatever I put my mind to, like I can create. And so I really just want to acknowledge you for that, because, what I hear is that your real stand behind it. There is confidence behind that just knowing. And so I really just want to acknowledge you for that. I really want to acknowledge you for, being willing to step onto this platform and be coached, not knowing what we're getting into. And I think that all of it really speaks to what you were up to in terms of being this like powerful man out in the world, being vulnerable, being open, being willing to lead by example, lead with authenticity. And yeah, just really, really beautiful work today in the conversation.
Thank you, brother. I really do appreciate that. It's been an
Absolutely.
honor and a pleasure to be here with you.
For sure. And thanks, guys, for those of you to put comments in the chat. We'll have to take a look at those afterwards. Really appreciate you guys just being here with us. And with that, we're going to wrap it for today. So have a great rest of your day, everybody. Bye for now.